Hey, welcome back to another ballistics gel test. Today we're going to be shooting Hornady American Whitetail 150 grain 30-06. And the test rifle today is my Tikka T3X Super Light Stainless, chambered in 30-06, of course, with a 22.4-inch barrel and a Leupold VX3 HD on top. We'll be taking 3 shots from 100 yards, firing into 10% ballistics gel that has been calibrated to meet the FBI's ballistics testing protocol. And while ballistics gel isn't an exact proxy for big game, it does provide a repeatable medium through which to test various bullets and ammo against each other. After the shots, we'll examine bullet expansion, weight retention, penetration, and velocity. My goal is to provide hunters like you and I with the most objective information possible to help us make the best choice for our particular hunting situation. The ballistics gel in this video has been sourced from Clear Ballistics. You can find a link in the description. So let's go ahead and shoot it. And we're down here at the blocks after shooting those 150 grain Hornady American Whitetails out of the 30-06, and luckily we did capture all 3 bullets. So let's take a look. They made it to the second block. Pretty consistent penetration, a little bit of variation. Let's see where they're at. All right, looking down from the top, it looks like we got about, we're gonna call it 17 inches on that first one. Right at, we'll call it 18 1/8 on that second one, coming on back to the third one. We're right about, we'll call it 20 inches. Let's take a look at the velocities for that 150 grain Hornady American Whitetail out of the 30-06. Our high was 2801. Our low was 2760. And our average was 2787. Here we're looking at those Hornady American Whitetail 150 grain loads out of the 30-06. First, we'll talk about weight retention. Our overall average was 114 grains, and we did see a little bit of variance. Typically, at least for the last few ammos I've tested, the weight retention is pretty consistent. This is one of the less consistent ammos I've tested. Respectively, we saw 122 grains, 117 grains, and 102 grains, so a little bit of a range there. Overall, we got 76% retained weight. Now we'll talk about expansion. The average expanded diameter was 0.745 inches, and respectively we saw 0.797, 0.742, and 0.697 inches of expansion. Overall, that works out to 2.4x expansion, so we did hit and go past that 2x benchmark that I like to see. This was pretty good expansion. Now we'll talk about velocity. Our high velocity was 2,801 feet per second. Our low was 2,760 feet per second, for an average of 2,787 feet per second versus the factory build velocity of 2,910 feet per second. So we did come in a little bit slow on average, 123 feet per second slow. That's a bit more than some other ammos I've tested recently, but not as bad as others. And last but not least, we'll talk about penetration. Our average penetration was 18 2/5 inches, and respectively we saw 20 inches, 18 1/8 inches, and 17 inches of penetration. So a little bit of a range there. And we really didn't hit my 20-inch benchmark that I like to see for medium game hunting ammo. Granted, this is a 150 grain bullet in a 30-06, a little bit light for caliber, but a lot of people use it. I've used it before myself. So a little bit lacking on the penetration front. Final thoughts on the Hornady American Whitetail 150 grain load out of the 30-06. It didn't do anything real spectacular, and it didn't do anything really horribly either. It was sort of middle of the road. We saw 76% weight retention, 2.4x expansion, so it had pretty good expansion. Penetration was a little bit lacking at about 18 inches, but a 150 grain bullet in a 30-06 is a little bit on the lighter side of the hunting loads that are offered, so I'm not totally dissuaded from using it by that. And once again, every once in a while I mention this, your average whitetail deer is only 12 to 14 inches wide at the rib cage, so the reason I use 20 inches as a benchmark is just for those situations when you need some margin for error. This stuff will definitely do the job. So if I had a rifle that shot this stuff particularly well, I wouldn't be dissuaded from using it for, your run-of-the-mill deer hunt. I wouldn't necessarily use it on bigger deer or larger game than deer, but it seems like overall a fine whitetail hunting ammo, which is what it's named after. Hey, if you enjoy these videos, check out my website masonleather.com and get yourself some leather gear handmade by me just for you. I've been handcrafting leather gear for hunters for over a decade, and I would love to make you something. The link is in the video description. And check out my channel for more hunting ammo ballistics gel tests.